On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton, rode into the woodlands to pick up Team RR. We headed out on 1488 West to Mount Magnolia. There was a bit of action on the overpass. Then we took 149 to Jackson Road. We filmed all the way till we got to Darwin on Mount Moriah Road. We rode with them up to 1486 off camera. Then we turned right when we got to Dacus and went into Richards, Texas, just the two of us. We took 1486 south after getting to Richards and headed up some nice climbs. We got some clips to share with you all. We came back to Dacus, took Mount Moriah south back to Jackson Road, and pretty much used 1488 to get back into town. It was kind of breezy. We didn't really have a tailwind. It turned out to be a nice day. It started out cold, but it warmed up nicely. We hope you all will enjoy the clips we got for you. We got there right on time.
Good morning, man.
They were kind of rolling out. It's
How
about
are you?
7:37.
Good.
So we didn't have to
Good
wait.
morning. Good morning.
We went ahead and used the restroom right in the same parking lot here at the Kroger. And you will see in a few kilometers, we stop again because it's so cold, the body reacts differently. Because I drink a lot on and off the bike.
Yeah, Lulu, how are you, man?
Not so much when it's cold, but off the bike I drink
Good morning,
all
how
the
are
time.
you?
It's good for your body. So we're heading out. We got there just as they were clipping in the rollout, so it's perfect. We ended up, after sprinting and climbing Mount Magnolia, we stopped and I went ahead and took another break, nature break, because when it's cold like that, it's hard to predict. We have to stop more frequently. That's why I don't only drink water when it's cold. I drink electrolytes.
Perfect timing, my brother.
Yeah.
And I only carry one large bottle when it's cold. I don't need two. Because I drink before we clip in, right before we clip in. And so I don't need to drink until several hours into the ride. Look at the temperature, 5 Celsius.
I learned a lot about how to do it.
That means it's about 40 degrees. Let's see. Yeah, about 38, 39 degrees right now. Look at Scott. Scott told me he really misjudged the weather. He's got regular shorts on and a short sleeve jersey. So he's cold. He ends up turning back early with Bob. You have to dress right to really maximize your time on the bike. I brought out the Colnago today. This Colnago weighs about 21 pounds, and then with my bottle, it's about 23 pounds. So it's about 6 pounds, 5 to 6 pounds heavier than most of these other guys' bikes. But when I'm on it, I don't feel the difference. It's very comfortable. And it rolls really well. It won't win a mountain time trial, but it holds its own.
Did I miss something?
I know.
I love the geometry. We're talking about the fact that some of these guys are not dressed properly, and you look at them, you feel cold for them. That's what I'm telling Paul. I love the geometry because a lot of the newer bikes, like the Pinarello F10 and stuff like that, the size I would ride, the top tubes are too short. I need a top tube, an effective top tube length of at least 58.7 centimeters to put a decent sized stem on it. And a lot of them, the top tubes are too short. And then I need a head tube that is 17 millimeters or shorter for me to get low enough where my body likes to be. So that's why my other two bikes are custom. Because a lot of the off-the-shelf stuff they're pushing nowadays, they just don't allow me to set the proper position.
You know that guy Chris was talking
They're
about
nice bikes, but you know.
saying balloons and he catches air and it's a drag.
Yep. the right equipment.
So you got to have the proper gear for the weather you're riding in. I mean, I'm wearing full-fingered gloves, and my hands are a little cold right now. But within about 2 hours, it warms up. They're not freezing cold, just a little nippy. But based on what the weather was going to do, there was no point in doubling up or using liners. See now it says 4 Celsius. So it's gone down quite a bit from when we started, because we're headed north.
That's a combination, right?
So anytime it's below 10 Celsius, it's cold. You need to buckle up. I covered my knees with leg warmers and we're perfect. If it's going to stay below 10 Celsius, then I go ahead and just wear tights. But since it's going to warm up, I put on leg warmers just in case it warms up more than they predicted, then I can pull them off. This is a short light, so we're just kind of feathering it. See it change. In a little while, I'm riding along and I start going downhill. You see me just pass the group, but I'm not trying to pass them. They just seem to be going slower for some reason than the speed we're doing now. So it's about 40 degrees Fahrenheit right now, and it probably feels like 36 with the humidity and the wind. So it's cold. And the Scott is cold. I end up talking to him in a few kilometers, and he tells me, yeah, I really misjudged this one. And I just told him, well, sometimes you just gotta walk out on the porch before you leave. And I've had to, in the past, walk out and go back in and put on more stuff. There's no point in freezing out here. This is what I'm talking about. I'm just passing it. This is downhill here. See, it says -2 in the grade. And they're going slower. There's a dead armadillo over there, and it's not called out on time, so people kind of skim by it. So somebody told Bob, who's on the right in the front, that he needs to call that. Notwithstanding, you still need to keep your eyes open, just like when you ride solo. Watch where you're going, watch what's coming. I end up just riding to the front. I'm not really trying to do that. They just went slower. I guess when it does the armadillo, they slowed down. But I kept the effort the same. As you can see, I'm in zone 1. The road's starting to go up now. Then it will go back and pass me again. I just keep doing the same thing. So this is one of our coldest mornings we've had so far. At 4 Celsius, it's 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and it feels like it's in the 30s. But it's one of those days that did warm up quickly. It wasn't like last week. We did not have a tailwind on any stretch. The wind was swirling. When they change like that, you get the wind from the north in the morning, and then mid-morning the breeze picks up from the Gulf. So by the time you're coming home, it's in your face again. So we get a lot of easterly flow when it's warming up, southeasterly flow.
What is the route they're doing today? I know we are going out.
Paul's asking about the route because we got there right when they were leaving the route they're doing it. They're gonna go 1488, as you saw in the route layout at the beginning of the video. We end up going up Jackson Road into the forest. There's a lot of action after the overpass and on Jackson Road. I ended up bridging up to Hernan is in the light colored jersey. It looks kind of like coral color right there. Coral color on the right there, to the right of the guy in the chartreuse. That's Hernan. And he starts to speed everything up. As soon as we get on 1488, you'll hear people saying, why are we going this fast? And so we kind of chuckled about that. But you'll get to see that. So there's a lot of action on the ride. I was kind of surprised. But my buddy Paul wanted to play today, so he stayed with the action. He didn't let us go. He said he was feeling better and he just felt like he was going to stretch his legs a little bit. Somebody yelled "hole." That wasn't me. I never yell "hole." That's just a lip. the surfaces, the two pavements don't meet very well. So whenever that happens, I always take the weight off. And there was a deep ridge there, so I swerved to avoid my wheel dropping too far down. So once you take the weight off the bike, your wheels hold the true longer. Everything, you resist pinch flats. Says I don't know where they're going. I suspect at this point, I thought maybe we're turning right, but then in a little while you'll see people go to the left, but then some people stay in the right, and that's what I talk about. Don't do that. You're blocking the road. There are 2 lanes here. If we're gonna go straight, we all need to be in the left lane, all of us. And you will see that we get stragglers staying in the right lane. That's what annoys the other road users. They shouldn't have to come and honk behind you. You should position yourself where you need to be. So right here at this point, I'm not sure. Then I see somebody go to the left. Then you will see me move over. And no one communicated that, oh, we're going straight, let's go left, let's get the left lane. And we're just late coming over. That guy's pushing the button over there so the light can change, but it's not necessary. There's a car sitting right here. And then look, the 2 of them are in that right lane now. Oh, at least he's coming back. Now Randy, I think that's Randy. No, that's not Randy. So another guy, he stays there. And I think, yeah, Randy is next to him. So if a car had come, we'd be blocking both lanes. So don't do that in your group. Everybody needs to be in one lane, the lane you're using. Don't spread out across the road. It doesn't belong to you. You get to use your piece. This is where Scott and I start to chat. He asks how things have been going. I said everything's great. And then a little while he tells me, man, I really miss just this one because it's cold. I look at him and I feel cold because I'm wearing a base layer and my thermal jersey, which is my go-to once it drops below 50, because it will tolerate below 50 temperatures and it will go up to 24 Celsius. That's about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, where you will be reasonably comfortable. Much above that, it gets hot. So it's a very versatile piece of kit. As a result, I have many copies of it. I think it's the best kit to reach for in our area where the temperatures fluctuate during the ride. So it takes a lot of time and trial and error to really get the right kit. A lot of these guys are wearing the same jersey they wear in the summer. Abby's wearing, that's a summer jersey. This guy, Scott, next to me is dressed like this summer. You see Hernan in the coral? He's dressed properly for this weather. That's a warm top he's wearing. That might be made by Castelli. I like the color. And this guy here is dressed properly. He's all covered up so you can stay out here longer. The guy on the right is wearing, he's got long sleeves. So he's okay because it's supposed to warm up fairly quickly. So today, like last week, I could have used leg warmers. So last week, I had it backwards. Today, I have leg warmers on, and really, I kept them on, but I could have pulled them off maybe in 3 hours or something. But I just kept them on because I wear the merino wool. They're very comfortable, very breathable. They don't heat up too easily. So this guy without the knee coverings, he's okay because it's a changeable day. He's got his torso covered with a nice warm jersey. So there's a difference. Don't just buy a long sleeve jersey because it's long sleeve. You've got to look at the temperature ranges. What is it designed for? There are a lot of long sleeves that are light and they won't keep you warm. I will show you some people wearing stuff that's not going to keep them warm. You don't want to wear a windbreaker only on a day like this. If you're going to put a windbreaker, it better be over something warm. But the thin windbreakers will not keep you warm. They just block the wind. And when there's no wind and it's cold, the windbreaker itself gets cold. So I'm going to try to get the name of this guy on the left in all black. He's been coming religiously every week over the last several rides. Even though he doesn't stay with the group till the end, he's still coming. I like to see that. He's back every week for more. So obviously he's serious. This is the gentleman in the chartreuse last week that I was talking about. He was wearing chartreuse last week. I said that he needed more kilometers in his legs. And that's what it takes. You got to keep coming back out. Don't get discouraged. This is a good group for a guy like him because anything goes and they wait for people. So it's good. There's Abby drifting to the back. He does that a lot. We haven't started riding. He's drifting to the back. So I'm not sure what that's about. But a lot of these guys are putting in a lot of kilometers. Abby's retired, so he's riding a lot of kilometers every week. I don't pile on too many kilometers. I have a standard schedule I follow. I'm too busy to just ride all the time. So I just try to get my minimum amount in to keep my body where it needs to be per my training plan. So I have very little concern for what others are doing. I do what I need for me. Everybody's different. Don't follow somebody else's plan just because. You have to find out what you need. So as we get to the corner here, there are no vehicles here, so you will see me go to the right so I can push the pedestrian walk button, which triggers the change in the traffic signal.
I don't know if it was by choice. That's what he said, but I'm not sure. He does that a lot.
I like the quality jerseys and jackets because they don't balloon when you're riding. You zip them up, they fit you well. I speed the film up here, kind of the time lapse, because we're there for a bit. Kind of a slow light. And then I come back over there, we're chatting. I don't like bulky jerseys. It doesn't need to be heavy to be warm. So you need to make sure your jacket fits you well. So you're not just buffeted by the wind. It slows you down. Creates more drag. And as far as the saddlebags, like the saddlebag, this is Bart, I think. The saddlebag on his bag is a bit large. I don't know what he's got in there, but a lot of riders that I see with very large saddlebags have less than what the capacity of the bag can hold. And I'm talking on a regular basis. So that means they just got the wrong size bag. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that sometimes I notice that they swing around. You know, when the bag is not filled correctly and you don't get the straps to hold it in place, they move when you're doing stuff. And I don't like that feel on my bike. So get the bike that's sized for what you're gonna carry. I mean the bag that's sized for what you're gonna carry. You don't need to carry a whole lot. You just need essentials. There's a deer running across the road. I didn't put an arrow on it, but you'll see, like, you just can see the white speck. Only his tail, because this thing is wide angle. He's basically locked out of the subdivision, and he panicked. So he's just running along the side of the road. Paul pointed him out. But we really couldn't get a good shot of him. He's trying to get off. He's in an open area, and he's uncomfortable. So he's running. You know, deer, when they're crazy like that, give them room. They're just running. So all of a sudden, these guys are picking up the pace. This is the road where my speed sensor freaks out. So we're doing about 35K, thereabouts. You will hear Paul mention, like, why are we riding this fast? Or something like that. And then later on, you'll see what happens.
Now you're going back.
I should have just waited out in the front. The leg weight drive.
Yeah.
Got an extra 10 miles.
Yep.
8 miles.
It's because I'm moving so fast right now.
Hey, what's up with that?
As Paul said, why are these guys moving so fast right now? And I think it must be Mike with him, Mike Weinreich. He said, yeah, what's up with that? Hernan is at the front, and then I guess Mark decides he's going to go. I think Mark is pulling right now. It's not Hernan. but he's going faster than they usually do up here. We're probably doing about 34, 35K.
You're not kidding.
My speedometer's flipping all around. Yeah, 35, 36K, that's about right there. It gets a lot of interference on this stretch, so it'll settle down later. But we're moving. That's why you saw me move up. I was just going to move up and save my energy. So even though they're hammering, I'm still just in zone 2. So if I had sat in the wind, I would probably get up the sweet spot or something like that. So you got to use your head when you're in a group and ride accordingly, position yourself so you save energy. So we're moving faster than we normally move. I'm soft pedaling here. So it's 3 Celsius. So that's like 37, 38 Fahrenheit. It's cold. And you hear the wind. The power numbers are going to jump all over the place because every time they accelerate, I would probably hit like 150 watts or so. So because I'm in the draft, I'm not going super hard. So you can't just ride for the moment. You have to think about later on, how's your day going to go? What are you going to do later? What are you going to need to be able to do? So early in the ride, you think about what you'll need to do in 2 to 3 hours, depending on how long you're riding, towards the end of the ride, what terrain, and try to save your energy. Right now, everybody's fresh. It's not the time to go too crazy. So, wait for the first hour to pass. And actually, if you know how long you guys are riding, it's best to save your energy for the last hour of the ride. That's when it matters. That's when people who haven't paced themselves are struggling. And you want to learn to not be one of them. That's what comes from experience. You have to learn to ride better. All those little things make a difference. So I'm riding a bike that weighs about 23, 24 pounds, like it's much lighter. So, the reason I'm mentioning that is there are a lot of riders that are hung up on weight so much. Unless you're doing an event that's timed or a big deal and it's mountainous, like a time trial uphill or something like that, the weight does not make that much of a difference. Focus more on the fit of your bike, the quality, the durability. I'm a big guy. I want strong components. I want things that won't break on me. I've been there, done that with the lighter stuff. Some of them break too easily. They're a hassle. So right now I look for things that will last. Right here is too fast. These guys don't like it. Bart pulled out. This other guy pulled out. And there's a gap here. So I look behind and decide to ride up to them. So Abby comes around. He's expending a lot of energy. He goes to the front and he goes off the front. So he does something that's unusual. He goes off the front, sits off the front for a bit, for a few strokes, and then comes back and tells the guy to slow down. I think Hernan is pulling right now. I'm already there. Another person pulled out of the line. They're not happy with this pace. It's just too fast. We're 40-something kilometers an hour in this cold morning. So I'm just sitting right there. I've already ridden up to them. Paul's on my wheel. I'm sitting there. Hernan is off the front. Now they're backing up because Abby finally told him, oh, well, you're going too fast. I decided I'm just going to keep riding. We don't need to stop. You just need to slow down. I don't know why they do that. You go hard, then you want to stop. You don't need to stop. Back off. So I go to the front, with the cold weather, your nose kind of gets runny. I go ahead and blow my nose while I'm by myself.
They're just mountain bikers.
So then Bob comes by. I just kind of soft pedal to see who's going to come. This is Mike Weingrab. Mike was the one telling Paul, I don't know what that's about, when Paul said, why are these guys going so fast? So now we're just organized. Whereas we could have just been going, say, maybe 35K as opposed to 45K. That's what I talk about all the time. It's like, this is not very efficient. We went really fast, then we sat up. If you drove your car like this, you'd be at the gas station more frequently. steady she goes. So we're sitting here, and I'm not on camera, but we're laughing because we're like, okay, what's the plan? So now we've decided, now look up there, Bob is off the front. Now he was one of the ones complaining that everything was too fast. Now he's off the front. So I'm like, what is that about? So I don't know. So Hernan went to the back and just sat in because he thought they wanted to go fast. It's not his fault. Mark was the one who started it, and this is Mark's group. So if you start it, the visitor is going to join in if he can. So once they told him to slow down, he just went to the back. He probably went to the back to see, okay, let's see what the group wants to do. And then when he comes back, he will probably do something. But, you know, it doesn't matter. It's like everybody's in different levels of fitness. Everybody wants to do different things on the ride. I've talked about it before. Mark's looking to see if everybody's together. You know, I don't know what that's about, but we just need to ride. We just need to ride steadily at this point anyway. So Paul's right down. I must be behind Paul. In a little while, I think I will come around him. I try to stay in the frame as much as possible when we film, and I've mentioned it before, but I just wanted to mention that the reason I try to stay in the frame is when you film with these action cameras, it cuts the film into what they call clips. So you might get 10-minute clips or 8-minute clips, and I'm syncing. This is why I told Paul, because I know he can see me, and so I tell him I'm going to come through. So I just come through the front. So what I was saying is that it gives us 8 to 10-minute clips maybe, and so I've got to make sure that I'm somewhere in those clips to where I can synchronize the location to the data. That's how we get this overlay. So it's important that I'm visible somewhere, and that's another reason why I don't just ride off the front. Besides the fact that it's boring. The driver taps his horns, I wave at him. It's boring to just ride off the front. I mean, the whole thing about getting with the group is to ride with the group. So you will see Hernan will launch an attack when we get to Jackson Road in the hills. I will bridge up to him, and I end up telling him to slow down after a while because we put a tremendous gap on the rest of the group, and we're basically gone out of the picture. You know, it's like, what's the point of that? It's a lot more interesting in teaching stuff so that people can see as opposed to riding away. So right now we've settled into some kind of pace. I believe Bob is no longer up there. He's drifted to the back. So Hernan was just following the group leader's lead. I'm waving Sam up so I can tell Paul that I think we should do
Richards? Yeah, okay.
This is what we decided. I just suggested, why don't we do Richards today? Because right here, with this route, it would be really neat to just go with it. We're just going to go through the forest and get the Richards. And I told him, why don't we do Richards? A clear, beautiful day. It's supposed to warm up in the 20s Celsius, which is like 70 degree Fahrenheit. And whenever the weather is very nice like that, why not spend more time on the bike, especially on a Saturday? Saturday is our available long day. And so he readily said, yeah, why not? Go ahead and put on my shades. It just crossed my mind I wasn't wearing it. In the cold, when I put on my glasses, I don't push them directly on my earlobe, my skin, because the cap is there. I've got a cycling cap on, so I just let it rest on the side of my temple. Because if you try to push it there, it will be fighting against the cap, and it's just not enough room. If you've ever experienced that, you just want to place the arm over your ear. It will settle in. You don't need to run it directly between your earlobe and the side of your temple, if you know what I mean. All those little things that make a difference to where you're not sitting there fiddling with your glasses when your hands should be on the bars. That's why you saw me. I did it very quickly. If you ever tried to do that and it was pushing against whatever you had covering your head, don't fight that. Just lift the arm and let it lay down on top of the side of the cap. It will still cradle your face. Those are the radar lock glasses by Oakley. I really like the fit, and I have some glasses from that they have transition lenses that also fit me really well, but they're not made by Oakley. The name eludes me right now. It's another company that makes them. So you want to get glasses that fit you well, that don't allow your eyelashes to touch the frame, if you know what I mean. Meaning the nose pieces to fit the size of your nose, the bridge of your nose. All of that's important, so that it sits up on your face to allow air underneath, so they don't fog up easily. It's in the details. So now the road's gonna start going up a little bit. We got a whopping 3 Celsius, so it went up 1 degree. About 39 degrees Fahrenheit, thereabouts. Or more like 35, I think. We're closer to freezing now. Yeah, the 0C is 32. So yeah, we're about 35 Fahrenheit. Somebody's put the force down. If you look at my watch, 400 plus. I'm applying a lot of pressure. So with the Colnago, I noticed that I have to work a little harder, especially when the road goes up. But on the descents, I don't work as hard. And it's more stable. It's such a solid. I think it's really the rake of the fork, just the geometry in general that makes the bike very stable. I'm adjusting the shifting on the Colnago. It had a bit of a delay when I would shift to a lower gear, so I tightened the cable a bit. The barrel adjuster. This Colnago will take down tube shifters. I just happen to have Magnolia ergo levers, so I just put the little covers on there that comes with it. This guy pulled out. I'm not sure why he pulled out there, because really, the hill's coming. I don't think he was pulling, so he should have just stayed, kept his position. I don't think it's any easier at the back. Yeah, a lot of riders think that going to the back will make it easy. Just stay where you are, and when the person in front of you pulls off, if you can't handle the pace, you pull off pretty much immediately or shortly after they do. You ride whatever pace you can until you can get off the front. You don't have to be drifting to the back, because when things happen at the front, if you're too far back, sometimes you can't react quickly enough. So if you know what's coming, you save your legs. So if you watch here, I'm going to keep my cadence 80 plus. The watts are going to start changing, because now it's going to get gradually harder as we approach Mount Magnolia. But we've got a lot of wind coming from the right. You know, it's early in the morning, we're going north, and it's windy. As the watts keep going up, once it gets over 200, we start working. Right there, we're starting to work. This guy, Sam's at the front, and he's killing himself. Abby rides up there, and really it's an interruption. I don't know what he even tells Sam, because Sam ignored him. I don't know what his purpose for going up there was, because it didn't change anything. He just broke up our rhythm a little bit. I stayed to the right. Basically, I tell Paul to just keep it steady. That's what I'm doing. Because he told Sam to keep it steady, not to go too hard, but I guess Sam didn't understand what he said, because it didn't make a difference to Sam. But I knew that what Sam was doing would not be sustainable for him, because here it is. I dropped the effort. We're riding about 18 to 20 miles an hour, and we're pulling him back. This keeps the rhythm of the group. We're just keeping everything steady. We're riding right back to him. I guess he realized that he was riding off the front. I don't know why Abby went up there. He should have just sat in the back where he was. So now Mark's going. We're almost finished with the climb here. And that's Hernan on the right. That must be a Castelli jacket. I like the color. I don't care for the lettering on the legs. It's a bit too much. Some of these vendors like to do that. What Mark was saying is, your favorite turn is coming. He was talking to me. Because one time, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, he asked me, because I've done a few moves down there. He said, you must really like that corner, the little loop. I like to take it because, you got to really enjoy. You got to use the banking properly. It's almost like a NASCAR course, because it's banked when you get in that turn. And so we chatted about it, and so that's what he was saying. Your favorite turn is coming up. I didn't change the effort. And what I want you all to see here is what I was talking about. The Colnago is so stable that I'm gonna just not pedal, and I'm tucking just a little bit, and I'm gonna pick up some speed. Look at that. We're almost doing 50 kilometers an hour. That's about 31 miles an hour. And without pedaling, I catch up to them. I shift into like the 15, 53, 15, and we start to sprint. I see Mark going. That's what he was talking about. So then I kick it. Look at the power. We're gonna go over 800 watts. I moved to the left so he wouldn't have a wheel, and I'm gone. We're just playing. Look at that sunrise. That's beautiful. Riding into the sun. I sit up a little bit. I think I'm done. We're going to be turning. I moved to the left, but we're going to be turning left. And at this point, I really need to pee. And we peed right before we left. When we got to the parking lot, we went to the Kroger and used the restroom. But the cold weather, you never know how it's going to affect your body. When we used to compete and when we're training, every 2 hours we would stop. At least that. So I told Mark, because Mark's like, we need to wait. The group has broken up. There's quite a few riders. The guys that you saw sliding to the back, they're off the pace quite a bit more than I thought. I'm telling Paul, I said, I've got these gloves on, my hands are cold, and Paul's wearing our regular team gloves. And he said that he just likes to feel better. He said it's just the tips of his fingers were cold. So I told Mark over there that I needed to stop since we're going to wait for these guys anyway. There is a little dirt area here off to the side we're going to use. So I figure I'm going to find a place to pee. And you see all these cars lined up. I'm like, I got to find someplace private. Yeah. So I start looking for trees. I'm getting off the road there. And with the gravel, I don't want to walk. So I basically take my bike into the grass there, right there, before I unclip. I don't like my cleats on rocks. They're not the best friends for your cleats. So now I'm on we have a lot of pine trees in the area. The pine needles are down, all that. So that's cool to walk on. So I basically find a place to lay my bike, and I go behind those 3 trees over there. I didn't know Paul was filming. I was focused more on trying to pee before those guys catch up. They're not here yet. So we put a good gap on part of the group. I think Bart and them. I didn't want to go faster. I was very surprised that I needed to go because we've been riding with them, let's say 38 minutes. And 38 minutes ago, we used the restroom in the parking lot. So I don't get it. It's just the body, you never know. Whenever it's cold like that. But you have to find some place where you're not out in the open. You can't even see me. You don't want to be out in the open. In certain areas, it's against the law to pee in public. pretty much everywhere. So you got to make sure it's a private area and no one's around.
Cold weather, man.
Yeah. I'm glad I did this because
Those guys are still not back.
Right in my hand.
Yeah, I know, but your hands got to be cold because my hands are cold. I'm wearing this.
Just the fingertips, but yeah.
Yeah, I gave him credit for that because my hands were cold in this thing.
Okay.
Oh, the combat.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's supposed to warm up, but man, it's cold. I'm cold.
It's like 4 Celsius. I didn't realize it was that cold, but we weren't supposed to go much below maybe 7 or 8 Celsius. Which is like 47, 48, something like that. It went lower than that. That's Scott. I don't know how he's doing it in those short,
enough messing around.
Short sleeves.
Let's go.
I saw 800 watts or more.
Yeah, I had glanced at the power meter when I sat up. I was telling Paul, I saw 800 watts. Okay. So the Colnago didn't slow me down. You wait when he's out there. You just got to work a little harder. So you could train on a heavy bike and compete on a light bike.
Yeah.
And when we used to play basketball, we'd wear ankle weights during the week, take them off, and be flying during the games. So we're heading on 149 north towards Jackson Road.
Yeah.
On the other side, right?
Yeah.
We're going directly into the north wind. So even though I was telling Paul it's cold or whatever, my hands are uncomfortable. They're not freezing. The rest of my body is fine. My face is uncomfortable because the skin on your face is not covered. So a lot of times what I'll do is put maybe some Vaseline. I definitely cover my lips because they'll get chapped. But other than that, the rest of my body's fine. The shoes are good. The jersey especially just was perfect for the whole day pretty much. So the main thing I'm concerned about in the cold is my head, your extremities, your head, your feet, your fingers. Because as far as my legs, they're moving. They'll heat up from pedaling. Guys are riding around other people here, so I move over. This is the gentleman. I need to get his name. The guy who's back frequently. He's getting there. He's getting better. He's hanging on longer and longer. So what happened is once they caught up, we're standing. They kept riding ahead, which is smart. But then these guys come back and they resume the same thing, and it's kind of like. I guess everybody has their fun, but it encourages the other people to draft better and so forth. So I plan to bring out the Colnago maybe in a week or two, depending on how my schedule goes, in full retro form, meaning retro wheels, tubular tires, all of that, and with my Randonneur style tubular on my body. I'm mounting some tubulars. I had to get a respirator. When you're dealing with glue, you need to protect yourself from the fumes. To get that, once that's ready, I will bring it out and basically put it on the Colnago because they're done. They're aluminum rims back with silver aluminum hubs, polished, and they look the business, and they're perfect period wise for the Colnago with those chrome forks and chrome stays. That should really dress her up. I think that will be her permanent set of shoes, except when I'm deciding to train on something else. other than the tubulars. Mike was not firing today. The guy in front of me in the green jersey on the shoulder here. This guy pulled out of the line. He didn't like the pace. He's going to the back. He stayed with us. He's gonna go to the back. He said, I'm not feeling it. Something like that he said as we went by. These guys did not back off. They're moving because we're going into the wind at 23 miles an hour. And not everybody's happy. I'm sitting on Mike's wheel because we're not that far away from the guys in front. And I didn't want to go around him. He seemed to have a good rhythm and he likes to be on his aero bars. And he just seemed to be off today. Because Mike usually is at the front driving the pace. He just seemed a little out of sorts. I think he was cold. Because he's the one wearing that real thin windbreaker. And if you don't have the right jersey underneath there, you will get cold. So I just think that Mike never warmed up on this section of the ride. And that's okay. And the cool thing about it is he realized he wasn't firing, so he just sat in. You know, that's fine. You're not obligated to pull. What I gripe about are the people that want to sprint when they don't pull. If you're not going to pull, you can't be sprinting. That doesn't look cool. I'm basically avoiding the rocks at the intersection. I know you saw me do over there. I don't like those little rocks. I treat them like pins and needles or glass or whatever, because if you catch a rock in the right corner, it can cut you. Cut your tire. Cause a puncture. And if you're seated, if it doesn't cut you, it can cause a pinch flat if you go over the right kind of rock. Whenever I have to go through rocks, I on-weight the bike. So we head north and you can see we lost a degree. It's back to 3 Celsius. About 35 balmy degrees. .35, 36, something like that. Probably 30, yeah, between 35 and 37. That's where it is right now. It's cold. Because regardless of what the temperature is, what it feels like that really affects you. And in our area, we are near the Gulf of Mexico. So we always have a high level of humidity compared to other places like, say, Colorado and other places where they're drier. So it's always going to be colder than what's listed. That's why in the summer we have a lot of humidity and stickier than what's listed. So it's the other end of the spectrum. I'm looking around the guys, so I see what's coming, because you notice nobody else is giving warning. You can't depend on that. You have to be able to see around them. You don't lose that much in the draft by being on the right or left of a rider. Just the key is to be close enough. You don't have to follow directly behind to maximize the draft. Because you don't go too far over, just a bit, you know, a few centimeters one way or another. Just enough to see around them. We're approaching 149, and Scott, who's underdressed, is going back home. Bob is going with him. They turn right over there, and then Mark and them are sitting at the intersection like, what? Let's go. You know, it's like, this is the middle. We're in the middle of the road here. You'll see them do this again. It's like, you gotta have some respect for these highways. Other people are using it. So I tell Mark we're going to Richards. We're gonna keep going because it looks like they're gonna be stopping, and I don't want to stop.
Yeah.
Good for you guys.
All right, man.
That's what I told him. I said we're going to Richards with this, so we're gonna keep riding because I thought they were gonna stop again. I don't know what they would be stopping for. And so we just keep rolling gently here. Paul's on my wheel, and in a little while Mark joins us and says, "Oh, we decided we're gonna join you." You know, because this is on the way to where they're headed. They're headed to Dacus, and they're gonna go east from Dacus to head back. It was good to see Scott turn around because it's just too cold for him to be out here. Yeah, you see the gap over there. They're gonna ride back up to us because we're not going that hard. We just probably doing 17, 18 miles an hour. Actually, let's see, 23. We're doing about 23. It didn't seem that fast.
Yeah.
So they really had to work to come to us then. I thought we were doing about 18, so we're probably doing like 20, 21 thereabouts.
Today was on, my brother. My legs are feeling good.
Yeah, this is why Paul told me that his legs were feeling good because I was telling him that I expected him to let us go back there. He said, "Oh, legs felt good."
Yeah.
So we you guys, so we decided to join you. All right.
Yeah, that's Mark. He said we decided to join you. So the group is back. Decided to join us. So I'm gonna pull for a while, but I'm gonna keep it around 7, maybe 18 to 20 miles an hour, no more. And then after I get off the front, Randy tells me, "Oh, thanks, Eldred, for keeping the speed governed," you know, something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but I knew what he meant. So, you know, you don't need to do anything particular in your group. Let people enjoy. Let the guys that want to go faster go, and if other people want to go with them, let them go. Because, you know, once they get out of the system, you guys can regroup. However you regroup, it doesn't matter. Because by restricting people, then it's not that much fun. You know, it's not a job. We're coming to have fun. Let everybody have their fun. I do mine differently. If I have a say-so or if nobody else is playing, I just sit at the front longer and keep it kind of a steady, hard tempo to where people still work, but it's a steadier rhythm. But I stay there a little longer. That's what I was taught, you know, as far as the group. But it doesn't mean that when other people attack is a bad thing. And you will see that, you know, I had good legs today, so Hernan will go, and I will go ahead and bridge up to him. But it's really not a whole lot of fun when you ride away from everybody unless you're competing. But it doesn't mean that you can't at least see where you are. You know, see how your form is coming. You know, this time of year, I mean, I just really want to build, and then maybe next year start ramping things up, see how things are going, and especially when we get more grand fundals and other things coming. That would be cool once we get past our challenge with the pandemic. Maybe we'll have more rides and stuff opening up. So you can see I'm keeping it right around 1920. Very civilized. I'm staying to the right because the wind is coming from in front and from the right. In this stretch anyway. And you see my cadence? Keeping it up. You have to find your cruising cadence. I don't cruise at any particular cadence. I like to do it all. I like to push sometimes. Look at 2 degrees Celsius. It's getting colder. As if it wasn't cold enough. But what I was saying is I like to push certain. There are times when you have to spin, and there are times when you have to push. There are certain situations you don't want to be spinning a little gear. You're going to go anaerobic. You know, there are times when you got to push. So this is where I wave him over. You see that hill coming up in the distance there. I wanted to do that before we got to the hill. Paul would take a short pull. know how long he stays there. Like he's turning the camera around here. That's a nice view. Can't really see everybody because of the angle of this road. There, it looks like, yeah, there you go. He's moving the camera. That's a better angle. Nice shots. That's Mark. Look at those trees. This is what Randy's telling me. Thanks for keeping it civilized, because I'm drifting backwards to the bunch. I didn't go all the way to the back, I think. Bart decided to be the last guy. So right here, Paul is still pulling. He pulled for quite some time. And that was another clue that told me, oh, my man's riding on good legs today, or he's just in the mood to work harder, because he sat up there for quite a while. I went ahead. In fact, he stayed there for so long, I sped it up here. You can see his shadow. We kept it right around 18 to 20 miles an hour. So right around here, he flipped the camera at people. He pulled off to the right into the wind, and then Mark takes over.
Slip in behind me. Come on.
So I let him know I'm coming, because the Bart's behind me, but I wanted Paul to get behind me. So make sure I will have a shot to synchronize if necessary.
Yeah.
I think I told him good pull or something like that.
You still filming?
Yep.
I'm telling Bart, I said, when they ride like that, it's like you pull out the line. That's what it is.
Yep.
Yeah, what Bart and I were talking about was what happened on 1488 when everybody was going really fast early in the ride. And I told him, well, you did the right thing. You just pulled out of the line. You know, let them do what they want to do. You guys could, you know, just decide at your own pace. I'm not sure what. Oh, because this guy pulled out of the pace line there, and he and what's his name, Abby, pulled out at the same time. Abby did not expect him to continue going left. And so Abby was a little surprised. The wheels were kind of close. It didn't touch or anything. That's what that was about. He pulled out of the line. He didn't like the pace, and he just pulled out. And he really should have been a little more careful or communicated more to Abby what he was doing. He really should have just drifted left and let Abby stay in the line. I'm not sure why both of them went left. But we went ahead and we resumed. It's getting harder because this road continues to go up. You can look at it visually. It's a gradual grade, and it's gonna go left, and then we'll get some nice little climbs, and then we're going into the wind and climbing at the same time, and then Hernan attacks, pulls away from the group. And I was feeling good at that moment, so I decided, okay, let's see what my legs can do. When I got up to Hernan, he was very surprised that somebody was there, because when he launched the attack, I was way back. And you will see the gap that he opens on the group. I don't think he expected someone to be on his wheel that quickly. But I really went a lot harder than I had planned, because as I started to go, the pitch kicked up. And as I went by, I didn't want to take any passengers. So you will see me go, and I will explain when it happens, because I continue to put out more power as I passed each person, because I wanted only someone who was willing to work to come on my wheel. And so I ended up bridging up from about probably 5 or 6 riders back to him solo. Because if you make it too easy, then you just pull everybody. You might as well just pull the whole group then. So it's a beautiful morning. It's still 2 degrees Celsius. It might be a whopping 34. Oh man. $35.6 degrees Fahrenheit is what it is at 2C. Look at this road. Beautiful road. Love coming down here since they repaved it a while ago. Look at that hill up there. That's where he's going to launch the attack. He's ridden these roads. Hernan is very familiar with this whole area. He mostly rides solo. And so he has not ridden with a group in a long time. When we met him, he was telling us about that a few weeks back. So he knows all these roads because he rides out here by himself. So he knew it was going to be hard. That's why he goes when he goes. See him standing right there? He's behind Mark. And when Mark pulls off, he goes. Because everybody's got to work on the hill. So just watch. He's still there. He's pulling. I mean, he's sitting behind Mark. I don't know when he actually goes, but then I realize I see the gap. Yeah, there's the gap. Now I go. Because he's gapped us already. Look at the watts. 900 and some watts. As I went by Mark, I went even harder. I'm on his wheel already. He was very surprised. So when I got on his wheel, I didn't just sit there, I went by. About a 10-second pull or something like that, you know, then he came around. And then when I looked back and saw the huge gap that opened to the group, I rode up to him and just told him, we probably should let everybody catch back up. Because we get out of camera. So right there we start to chat. I go ahead and tell them, let's wait till everybody catches up, because we put quite a bit of distance on the group. You can see I'm not pedaling at 0 RPMs. I told them, I said, they're trying to get up. Just back off a bit. But then once they get there, and I tell them, okay, they're here, let's go. He goes just as hard, which defeated the purpose of waiting for the group, because then we broke it up again. So I just pulled out of the line to wait for the rest of the people. But then when we get to the end of this road at 1486, they're stopping and they want to chat and do whatever. I just turn right and continue riding. I want to keep moving. It's too cold to be standing around. So you'll see all of that unfold. So we're up there. I thought it was the entire group that had gotten up to us, but there was a split between those guys. I think Paul and a few other riders are back here. That's Lulo there. You can see us in the distance there. We're rounding the curve over there. You will see my speed drop when I go ahead and pull out the line, because I realized, yeah, we're doing right now. We're doing 42 kilometers an hour. We're probably going downhill because I'm coasting. Right in the shadow there, we're in there. So I go ahead and pull out the line because we got a bunch of people back here, and these guys are going like, you know, that's the last climb over there before the intersection that you see there. But because I got up to him so quickly, I realized that his effort was not that hard. It was more like he was in the proper position and he launched the attack from the front. And I went a lot harder than I really should have done, but I just wanted to get up there quickly. And as I explained earlier, I didn't want to take any passengers. That's my light, you see. I'm waiting for these guys. They're not that much further up the road. We've done. I pulled out on this climb to wait for these guys. I'm looking back. Once they get to me, then I start to pedal and just give them a draft, and we'll pull to the corner. But then those guys are at the corner in the middle of the road. Instead of pulling off to the side, they're there waiting. I'm like, and then there's a car that will come. You hear me tell them, there's a highway. You need to get off the road. There are a few riders behind Paul. That's why I keep looking back, making sure everybody's together. Let them know we're turning right. Those guys are standing in the corner. Hernan had his bottle out. He was sitting on the top tube drinking. He was out of breath. They're tired. Now watch. This driver here, you see, that's kind of rude of us. Don't wave him around. Get off the road.
Got another car. One more back.
You see what I did? I just rode in the dirt. I want to keep going. We're not supposed to stop there. Pull off on the side of the road. Get off the road. I don't care how quiet the road is. You don't get to block the whole road. That's why I just kept going. And Paul had to ask this person to get out of the way because he wants to go. They're standing around. They're trying to catch their breath, I guess. Just remember that when you're stopping, get off the road. You know, it's like, don't wait till the drivers come behind you and they're annoyed. Be considerate. You're not moving. Get off the road. I'm up the distance. I'm up ahead. I'm riding. I'm not riding hard. You can tell I'm doing, what, 28K? That's like 17, 18 miles an hour. I'm riding just enough to where they'll be able to come up. There's a lot of mud. They're doing construction across the street, and those trucks are dropping globs of mud and dirt on the shoulder when they haul the dirt away. I'm up in the distance there, just spinning around. 25K, that's like 16, 17 miles an hour. Just waiting for them. I think Hernan blew his wad on that climb. See, Paul's sitting on his wheel and he's pulling back. He had to catch his breath. So you have to find out what kind of engine you have and how much recovery you need when you make efforts. Because you may not get the chance to catch your breath, depending on who's on the ride with you. So now I see that they're here. I don't know if I look back again, but I've been looking back the whole time to make sure. And once they get there, I'll go ahead and start pulling. So we can keep moving. This is how we ride the rest of the hours when we're riding, other than when we stop to check out a lake or something. We're moving. We only stop when absolutely necessary. We're maximizing our moving time. So once I know that they're there, I just edge it back up to around 20 miles an hour. Because with the group, if you average 20 miles an hour, I mean, you can cover a lot of distance. You know, especially in this kind of terrain where it's rolling, the hills are going to slow you down. So when it's flat, don't mess around. Get a bit of a downhill, you work that one. And then when the hill comes, you got to work harder to stay close to like 18 or so. That's what we try to do. More than them, they be riding 23 to 25 of those climbs. Like they're flat. You know, so. I'm not sure why Hernan did that. I think he wanted to look behind to see what everybody was. As soon as the road opens, the shoulder is going to open, and then you will see me go ahead and wave him up so he can take the lead. I think somewhere around here. I move to the right, and I wave him over so he can take the lead. Got a wider shoulder. He can go by and take the lead. So I tried to soft pedal. I don't know if he saw my signal, but I had waved him. I literally left the bars and waved him up. Paul's going to pull through. That's a 2x4 on the road. That's what he was pointing at. Those are the things you got to look for. You don't want to roll over those things. They're not a lot of fun. And if you're not looking, it can cause you to fall. They can pretty much bounce the bars out of your hands if you're not holding on right. So I'm sitting on Paul's wheel, and we've kind of separated from the guys. You can see the speeds we're doing. We're going into the wind. It's rolling 1 degree, 38K, 40K. That's between 23, 25. Abby comes to the front as he usually does, not to pull, but to disrupt the pace. So he goes off the front. Hernan lifts the pace to stay with him. I went around Paul. I think right around here, we kind of the filming ends. Paul had said that he kept filming until we got to Montpelier, but something must have happened.
Look at that hill.
So right here, we're in Richards, Texas.
That's why we come out here.
We left the boys at Dacus. They stopped at a store in Dacus. We kept going. We didn't need to stop. We headed south on the FM 1486. A bit of a chip seal, but better than most that we encounter.
Yeah, at least 3%.
Yep.
Yeah, 3.7.
We did not stop at the store in Richards. We rode through town and kept going. This is a long climb. It's between 3 to 5.5%, different stretches. Right when you leave Richards, Texas. We're approaching a highway 2819. I became a local legend on Strava. There's some segment here, I have no idea what it is, but apparently they have a new thing on Strava that within 90 days, if you have a lot of efforts or the most efforts for every 90 days, you become the local legend for that segment or something like that. You don't have to win KOM points or anything. You just have to be the person riding this segment the most. So when I loaded this ride on Saturday, it popped up on the dashboard. I have no idea what it is or what it's about, but Robert Tengler said you should get a jersey that says local legend on it. Robert doesn't miss a whole lot. He's into the details. We're leaving Richards. We're headed south. You can see it's a whopping 16 degrees Celsius. This is 3 hours into the ride. That's 2 hours later. This is what I talk about. It's hard to dress for our area. It went up 14 degrees in 2 hours. That's significant. It's almost 61, 62 degrees. And it was 35 2 hours ago. So that's why you see a lot of riders out here. We got stuff stuffed in our pockets or under the jersey or whatever. You got to start shedding stuff. So I dress to wear on a day like this. Yeah, you can take stuff off. That's why I like the thermal jersey. It held up well. We got up to like 72 Fahrenheit before we're done. During the ride. I told Paul this is the first drink I've had from this bottle I've not needed to drink because I drink when I'm off the bike religiously, and then right before we clip in I drink about probably 17 ounces. That's just my routine. So I don't need, in the winter I don't need to drink. In the summer I take 2 bottles. In the winter that's why I take 1, because I don't need to drink that frequently. The body does not use liquids the same way. I'm running 25mm tires on the rear and 23 in the front. The clearances on, depending on what tire you buy, they get too tight if I try to run a 28 because of the brake boss on this bike. It just gets too close to the brake. The frame can take it. It's just that caliper is shaky. And I don't like to have tight clearances because you don't want things to get jammed in there while you're riding and stop your tire. It's very windy. We've dubbed things down to where it's very tolerable, but you can see this is farm country on both sides of the road, wide open, no shelter. Paul is on the right. I'm using a good chunk of the lane because he gets shelter. He's echeloning, sitting on my right hip. And he's getting closer. We must be going faster. Yeah, 33. Yeah. I sit in the drops because it's like that wind's blowing. Trying to maximize whatever little aerodynamics are available. Very quiet highway. The speeds are high from the cars I pass, but you don't get past that frequently. From looking at the clips, I observed that most of the ride, especially when Paul and I are riding solo, we're around 180 to 250 watts is where we are for the most part, except when we're climbing, you know, the spikes. Look at that road, just beautiful. So the road is turning. If you notice, we're turning more towards the south. It was southeasterly a second ago. And I was turning more south. So you got to keep looking for the draft. That's why you see Paul moving around. You see how quiet it got? He found a little pocket there. And that is the ideal position to be in that you see me on any road for the most part, especially on very quiet roads. This position forces the drivers to go over the yellow line, preferably use the other lane to pass. I do this especially close to my home because when I get closer to the house, there are more people and they seem to take more chances. I actually feel safer way out here than right in my neighborhood, believe it or not. Because most of the incidents that have occurred when I was on the bike, I mean, some of you have seen where I talked about a driver that came close and didn't see me on some of the other videos. They happen close to home. Your very neighbors are the ones endangering you. So when you're in your neighborhood, take the road. If you're going to turn left, be on the left of that lane. So they have to queue in behind you. Otherwise, they will just skim by you. We're actually safer when we're out here than when we get in town. And that's why a lot of times there's a road called Spring Stubner between my home and Paul. Paul does not like to ride that road to come to me. A lot of times he'll take a different circuitous route just to get to me out of the way because the way they behave on that road. And so don't think that being far away from home means that you're in more danger. No, you're in more danger every time you are around a lot of cars. It's the volume of cars that endanger you because the percentage increases that you will have distracted drivers more frequently passing you. That's why we use the lights. It looks like I didn't turn mine on this clip. Yeah, Oh, it's on. Okay, but that's why we use the lights, because the rear lights are necessary in my opinion, because the statistics indicate that a lot of riders that have been hit happen from the rear. So, get a light. If you don't have one, stick it on the rear at a minimum. Yep. And all you can do is be safe. Don't worry about it. Get busy living. Use your position on the road so everybody knows what you're doing. Signal your intention as best as you can. That's why I point these things out. So there are a lot of things that we saw today on the clip in the group ride that I don't want you to copy. If you're stopping, get off the road. So Paul came through just to get a different angle on the shot here. The road down from Richards is up and down, up to about 8%. I don't think we've reached the 8% climb yet. There was one little stretch where it's long and it's like a wall. So you're working. So if you live in an area that has 20% climbs, you can't really climb those things unless you're going to put a 42 on the rear and get a really long cave. You don't really climb very steep climbs. You struggle up there. You can't really ride them per se. Okay, so when I lived in Austin, there's a place called Jester Mountain in our subdivision. I avoided that thing. I mean, who wants to climb 18, 22%? It had another street called Buford. It was so steep that they had to put ridges on the road for cars to have more traction when it was wet. So don't get excited telling people, oh, I got these steep climbs right here. It means nothing. You got to get the right ratio to ride them, because mechanically they're just certain climbs that are just too steep. They don't make enough ratios. I mean, you're going to have to carry what? A 42 on the rear? I mean, who wants to do that? So somebody made a comment on the channel, one of the legends, and I told them, I said, it doesn't matter whether your area is flat. I was referring to Florida, because he said, I thought Texas was flat because you're just talking about these little rollers and 3% or whatever. It doesn't really matter what the percentage is. The Dutch have a very flat area, and they turn out some of the best climbers that have won in the Tour de France. So use the wind. If you're in a flat area by the coast or wherever, use the wind. It's just like climbing. It's hard, it's sustained efforts that teaches you how to climb for long periods of time in the higher zones. Staying in a zone is staying in a zone. However you get there is up to you. So if it's flat, you put it in the bigger gears, the bigger ratios. You're not going to climb a 15% climb in a 53-15, so you'll be on the low chain ring. Paul's changing gears with a camera in his hand. That was the shot you just saw. But so don't get hung up on, you call that climbs or whatever. Whatever you say, people that say that, they're inexperienced. Because riders that are in the know that it does not matter. What matters is who you're riding with and how hard you're going. Whatever zone you're in. Wherever you go, you have to adapt. If it's going to be real hilly, you're going to be carrying smaller ratios. You're not going to be going as fast, but you'll be working hard. Like right here, we're working hard, but we're only doing 16 kilometers an hour. It says 5%. This thing gets up to like 7 or 8, and it goes for a while. So you got to get the right gearing so that you're mechanically efficient and don't blow your legs. So as you become more knowledgeable, you need to stop telling people, oh, I got more climbs than you have. That's inexperience. Nobody cares about that. You can be on a flat criterium downtown and get dropped on a flat square course. So,
That's why we're talking about wall.
Paul said, yeah, it's like a wall. It's steep, and then you got chip seal you're dealing with, and the wind. So yeah, you're working. This is why we like to come out here, because then psychologically you don't have to push yourself. If you were on a flat road, you'd have to put it in a big gear and push that gear to get into those same zones. So he was going from the small to the big chainring, and then he went back to the big chainring here. That's what you saw. He was shifting because that thing was so steep. We didn't want to cross chain on it, and even that may not have even been enough. I probably rode a 39-21 or something, or even smaller, maybe a 39-25 of that thing. I don't really pay much attention to what I'm in. What I focus on is how hard do I want to work, and what gear is going to get me there or keep me there. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
So wherever you live, make the most of it. You live in a flat area, get the larger gear so you can work hard when you need to. And then you get the tighter rear cluster. You live in a hilly area, you're going to have to get a good variety in the rear. You're going to have to get smaller, like a 36 or 32 or something like that. And then a compact on the front. That's what I'm alluding to. Get the gearing you need for the area you ride in the most. And then if you go into an event, find out what the air is like. You have to spend more time focusing on the zones you're working in, because that's more important than speed or anything. So get a training plan if you don't have one, or get a coach if you want to improve. Whether you want to just lose weight, whatever your goals may be, you need a plan. So every time you go out, stick to your plan. Road's going downhill here. Look how beautiful that is. Curves to the left. With the wind and everything, since it's not a serious down, you see right now it's kicking back up. So it's up and down, up and down. We'll run the credits here. We want to thank our sponsors, Divine Mercy AG Church, Kish Fabrication, our supporters, Paulie Longa, Jordan Nanga, and Reed Scythe. All our channel members and patrons for making it possible for Veloharmony to produce this. So those of you who like the channel, show us some support so we can keep doing this. At this point in the ride, we're coming closer to Dacus, and we like to close out our ride strong. Look at that sun in the sky. What a beautiful day. Just a fair day. Low challenge day, I call it. Other than the wind, everything else was fair. That's the thing about these roads out here. They may look flat, but they're not. You're dealing with chip seal, so you're working the entire time for whatever progress you make. There's a slight downhill here now. It actually is rolling down, and it's going to kick up to the right. Right where it curves, it will kick up. So it's interesting enough to where you don't get bored out here. I think we're coming back here. I think this is Montgomery County. We're back into Montgomery County. We just left Grimes County. And that wind is picking up. It's later in the morning, so the wind is really picking up. Slightly after 11 o'clock in the morning. The duration only reflects when we turn on the camera with Team RR, but we did not turn on the camera for a prologue today. So it basically excludes about at least an hour or so. Because we're about 4.5 hours into the ride. We ride for an hour before we meet those guys. That amount of time. moved to the right. The wind has shifted. I noticed that Paul was on my left, so I stayed more to the right, but I'm still tracking where the right tire of these cars ride because that's the smoothest spot in the pavement. And the road is not that busy, so we're making some good progress here. We're rolling around 23 miles an hour. So we're keeping the effort the same. Zone 2, top of zone 2. It's a whopping 18 degrees Celsius. We're right about 65 Fahrenheit. Since it had warmed up, what I did was I pulled off my gloves. I think you all saw earlier when we left Richards. Pulled off my gloves and stuck it in my back pocket. That's what you see protruding there. My hands got a little warm in there. Sometimes that's all you need to do to control your temperature. Remove your gloves or maybe pull off a cap or something. Do what is necessary. Keep your body functioning properly. So it doesn't interfere with your ability to really ride. You notice I went from the drops to the top. My body did not change. I went back to the drops. If you can't ride all the positions, that means your fit's off. It needs to be sorted. This kind of goes down and it levels off, and when it turns to the right, kicks up a little bit. There are a couple of cyclists in the distance. We're not trying to catch them, but they're going slower and slower, and they kept looking back. They had passed earlier when we were swapping out the battery in the camera. And you can see them in the distance there. I don't like to catch anybody unless we're going to just pass them. I don't change my pace just for that. People that I'm not riding with. The road kicks up here, so you have to be on top of your gearing in this terrain. All I focus on when I'm riding is my cadence and how the gearing feels and adjust to the terrain. You hear that wind picking up. As Dacus, we're in the city of Dacus. That's the store those guys stop at all the time on the left there. We just keep rolling back into town. So this is what we did on Saturday. I hope you got a chance to get some Ks in. If you didn't, get out, get on the trainer. Keep moving. Keep those doctors fire.
Catch the fish, my brother.